We all in position?
I think so.
Good.
We're all ready.
Right, we got a list done. Hello and welcome to Rob. Hang on now, just move a little bit closer,
sorry.
just a little bit. Yes, and I'll go a little bit over so we're a bit,
So we're a bit more-
more set now. Like this. Yeah, let's have a go. Yeah, you all in position.
Yeah,
That's a
I
bit
think
better.
so,
That's
yeah.
a bit better now. Right. Hello and welcome to this video. And on this video, I am going to be ranking with my friend Rob GROUCUTT to the albums of the band that was called the Electric Light Orchestra, or if you abbreviate it, ELO. This is going to be the ultimate ranking, much better than all the other people who've done them because they're just fans. But I'm not even a fan of ELO, which makes it a little bit special. But my friend Rob here, obviously, as I've mentioned many times, is the son of Kelly GROUCUTT, who was the bass player and singer with ELO.
Many times.
Yes, and so I've mentioned it quite a few times. Anyway, so it's been a funny thing because I've never been a fan of ELO.
No.
No, doesn't mean I don't like them because I do like
But
some
we
of their
have
songs.
we have had interesting conversations where you sort of take the mick out of them, which is almost
Yeah, but
I mean, it is usually fair enough.
I mean,
to be
this
fair.
one is going to be funny, but in terms of talking about the band, I'm not going to take the mickey out the band, right?
No.
Now that might be hard to believe, because obviously I've come dressed as Ronald McDonald in his 70s porn era.
Yeah.
Don't make me laugh, because my moustache will come off.
You're making yourself laugh. I'm not. There it is. It's already going.
Oh God! So I thought because of Rob's, he's obviously the son of Kelly GROUCUTT, so he looks a little bit like Kelly GROUCUTT. I was really expecting some sort of better moustache, to be honest, today with the effort I put into this. So I thought I'd look a little bit more like Jeff Lynne for you, but that's about as silly as this is going to get. This is going to be a pretty This is going to be a serious video.
Really serious.
And if you're ELO fans, don't worry, we're not going to lark about. This is going to be serious. So before we kick off, I just want to say I have never listened to an ELO album all the way through except for Out of the Blue, which I've listened to once, and Time, which I listened to once 45 years ago when I bought it and then didn't like it, right?
I don't think I have. No, I'm joking. I have a few. But
So I have sat meticulously with a scoreboard thing, piece of paper, and I've gone through every single album one by one. Mm-hmm. And whereas you've lived with these since you were born, haven't you? Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing for me, and it's almost like a disclaimer, is that my sort of relationship with ELO obviously is different to a lot of people like fans. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really grow up really with the listening to the albums as such. It was like it was going to concerts, so it was almost sort of hearing the best of. So my sort of disclaimer here is that I mean, if anybody's going to be going in the comments going like, well, he's obviously biased because of it, it's like, yeah, of course I am. But there's a lot that I hadn't really. I think I'd probably heard everything, but there's a lot that I hadn't really sort of paid too much attention to until you said, can we do this?
Yeah.
And you've been asking me to do this for a while.
Rob didn't want to do it, you see.
Oh, I didn't, yeah.
Because of all the inherent problems. So if you can have a bit of sympathy for him, because you know what ELO fans are like. They're bloody, nutters, they're like Pink Floyd fans. And he wants to step very carefully, and he knows doing a video with me, he's going to start off with me pretending to be Jeff Lynne.
Yeah.
Like this, with that moustache half on. And so he knows what he's in for. But, being like, I mean, this is the son of Kelly GROUCUTT. He's going to give, this is a different Don't even mention those in the back.
No.
And if you think of switching off this video halfway through, there's stuff at the back that Rob will show you for treats for ELO fans. This is the best. This is the ultimate ELO ranking video. It's the ultimate one. There's not one better on the internet. Don't go looking anywhere else. In fact, it's possibly the best video on ELO on the internet.
And we haven't even started.
We haven't even started, but we'll start right now. And the thing is, you see, this is better than a normal ranking video because it's 2 rankings, and they're going to be moving. So I'll say my number. What is it? Number 12, is it? Right? I've got my numbers the wrong way around.
Have you done the wrong way
around?
Yeah. Well, I did hope because I saw the one. I think we.
If that was what I'd done.
You're
looking at mine.
I'm looking. I know. Stop it. Oh, no, okay.
Right. So
and also, it should be worth saying is that we have predicted that we are probably going to have some arguments at some point in this, because you're the type of music that you really favour is very different to the type of music that I favour.
Don't wait till you get into it, because I think
we will see.
I have got, because of course I haven't just ranked it. I have a thesis now developed about ELO.
Right.
Before I start, I'm going to say this. There's no bad albums on this. There's not even any mediocre albums. This is one of the greatest runs of brilliant albums of any band. There's no duds, on this list. Anybody else, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Led Zeppelin, I'm not too sure about In Through the Outdoor, don't know about Presence, all Coda's a load of rubbish. There is no bad albums on this, right? That's the first thing. And secondly, right from the outset, they're great. But as I went through, you could see these elements popping in. And so they're building to something which is absolutely unique. So as much as my prog-loving head wants to love the early stuff, I can't help but think that the real juice, the real genius of this band, and I do think that there is a genius with this band, is the bringing together these elements as though they took the Beatles in 1971. Beatles are finished. The mantle's, handed from Liverpool to Birmingham, where it should have been all along. And they start... And they take that, but they're experimenting with it, and then they form it back together into something absolutely wonderful. And when they're at their best, this is a unique band with a unique style of songwriting that sits across so many genres. I really think they're an amazing band, I've got to say. And the elements, all the individual elements are so important.
Yeah, there's a few. I made a couple of notes because there's a couple of things that I'd sort of not realised. It's gone. I'd not sort of. I hear little. Not callbacks, but like things in earlier albums. It's like that's like a prelude to something that happens later on. And
I could see this.
It's a sort of like fielding the way forward to what it becomes.
So I think I was almost inclined to just do a chronological one, because it would actually give you a great idea of how the band works. But I'll just run through the chronological order very quickly. So in 1971 we had the debut, which is called the Electric Light Orchestra.
Or in the US, do you want some facts as well?
I know it was called, don't tell me, it was called No Answer.
Correct. Everybody, all the ELO fans know this.
Yeah, but you think I'd know that, but I've done my research. See, people say, Andy doesn't do any research. I actually do on some of the videos. That one fact. I'll come out with a ton of facts. You watch. So that comes out in 1971. They followed that up with ELO 2 in 1973, which is where we first see it brought from Electric Light Orchestra down to ELO. That's the first time that happens. And then that's followed up in 1973 by On the Third Day. 1974 sees Eldorado, which is their sort of full-on concept album. They have their own brand of progressive rock. I think we'll deal with that when we get to it. That's followed up by Face the Music in 1975. So we're talking 5 albums in 5 years, basically, aren't we?
Yeah.
Very impressive. 1976, we get A New World Record. And then in 1977, they do their Tales from Topographic Oceans, but it's far more successful than Tales from Topographic Oceans, and could be argued to be one of the few successful double albums in rock music history, which is Out of the Blue. Goes on a bit for me there, but that's by the way. And then 79, you get Discovery, or as their keyboardist Richard Tandy called it, Disco Very, which later on was stolen by Daft Punk for their album Discover, which they did pronounce Disco Very. So the lineage from the Beatles and prog all the way through to Daft Punk, I think, is very, very interesting there. Xanadu, which was the soundtrack to the album, the film with Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton-John.
It's called Xanadu.
Xanadu. It's got the same name. Then it's followed up by another concept album called Time in 1981. They now enter the 80s fully with that album. Then in 1983 we get Secret Messages, another concept album, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the sort of last album from the sort of classic ELO period is Balance of Power in 1986. The band then goes its separate ways, and your dad and Bev form ELO too, don't they?
ELO,
There's
Part
two
two.
albums there, which we're not considering today.
No.
We're not considering any live albums, and also the Jeff Lynne ELO albums, which I think there's
Well, there was
three.
there
isn't
was
there?
Zoom that
Zoom.
he did sort of mid-90s.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
I think it was 2000.
2000,
Yeah.
2000, 2001. And then the last two, which are Alone in the Universe and From Out of Nowhere.
Which I've had a listen to.
Which, yeah.
And they're not bad
They
albums.
do deserve special mention.
Yeah,
and
so-
actually, like When I Was a Boy, which was the first thing that he came back with, was like it was a really nice, like a really lovely moment in the sort of bringing it all back. You know, after he'd done this sort of Hyde Park sort of reunion, if you like, but not really reunion. And then he comes out with this album, and that song is like it's like it's like a perfect little opener to a new little era of ELO. So they do deserve.
I think
special mentions,
the only reason why we haven't included it is not because we're not saying they're not proper ELO albums, or it's not part of the lineage and all that. And then there's did the orchestra do any albums?
The orchestra did one called No Rewind.
Yeah, and then we've got solo albums. But because Rob's here, it'd be quite interesting, because actually, in doing my research, it opens up into a whole bunch of other areas on this, which is very interesting. Anyway, so we're only doing it because I think 12's a lot. I think you go past 12, it becomes this is going to be a long video. We're 10 minutes in, we haven't even started. Right, so Rob, what is your number 12? Right at the bottom of the pile. What you got?
My number 12 is Balance of Power, the last one.
My number 12 is Balance of Power. So why have you put it right at the bottom? Why is it the worst one? Because it's a good album.
It is a good album, and there's things on there, and I'll have to go to my notes. Like there's like So Serious and Getting to the Point. I really like those songs. There's is it Calling America is on there, which that's like one of the most popular ones. They are good songs, but it does, for me, it's the least like a band album, like an ELO album.
That's what I feel. I
So
think they're
it's
flirting.
like Jeff is ready to go and do different things, so it just sort of.
And he's doing the Travelling Wilburys by this point. Yeah, which is a really massive thing as well. When I listened to it, I thought that they actually negotiate 1980s production, all the gated reverbs and sinks and dicks. They negotiate it well, and this is not a bad sounding 80s album, because I just assumed these 80s albums are going to be horrible, but they're not. The songwriting's strong. It's just the ELO sound is not there anymore. No. And what could they do at that point? They couldn't go back to it in the 1980s, because you couldn't go back to the 70s or the 1980s at all. So they were a little bit stuck. So I think they were sort of put into a corner. But the songwriting is really good.
And I think it pulls away. Like there's the strings, there's the fake string stuff in there, but it's already pulled away by this point. But it does sort of come away from it, the whole orchestra concept. So it just that's the reason really for me, is that it's less like an ELO album than.
Well, the funny thing is, if you think about it, what ELO pioneered with that sort of chugging cello sound, once the DX7s came in, that sort of took over. If you think of sort of Papa Don't Preach by Madonna, and you think of that sound at the beginning, that is that sound. So it wasn't so novel as it was when they first started out. So, it's a really good album. It's a really great album. And I don't like the cover much as well. The ELO have really good covers.
It's a very 80s cover.
It's very 80s. It's like you feel like the record company put it together, and ELO, well, I'll just do something,
Yeah.
What was it like at that time? Because your dad had gone, hadn't he?
He'd gone by that point. I mean, it's also worth saying is I don't remember a lot of this, because I was born in 1980. So,
you were 6 years old.
So I was 6 years old at this point. So,
I was leaving school.
Were you just leaving
I
school?
live in sixth form, go to uni.
So the sort of the earliest one I remember is Secret Messages, which is the album before that. That's the one that I always remember as my sort of childhood, because that was the thing that's like that was the big thing at the time. And so Balance of Power was just under the radar for me, because I think by that point assuming that there was no ELO in the house.
Yeah, your dad was just trying to serve at that point, wasn't he?
I don't think he'd have been putting them on.
Where's my bloody royalties,
Have you
Jeff?
listened to this, our kid? Like, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
You can't. I've paid you them all, Kelly. I've paid you them all. What's your bloody mean? Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
You got a memory like a sieve, you have, Kelly. Bloody. I'm doing the Jeff
That's
Lynne
the
part
first
there.
Jeff Lynne impression of the...
Yeah, there'll be a lot of those.
Yeah. So that's an agreement there, isn't
And
it?
he's a rubbish Jeff Lynne because he's much more like that.
He's
isn't
a
he?
lot more
little bit more nasal, isn't he? Is that right? Have I got that? No, now I've got some sort of bloody Cockney. I don't think I can do it. I was trying to do Ozzy Osbourne this morning. I can't do that. All I can do is just standard Brummie. I'm going to stick with the standard Brummie accent.
Okay,
right. So let's get.
What have you got for?
Number
11?
2. This is a little bit contentious because I
Number two,
really
number 11?
number 11. Yeah, because I got my numbers the wrong way round. Number 11. I have the debut, the Electric Light Orchestra.
Okay.
Which a lot of people absolutely love, especially the proggers. And when I put it on, I was like, bloody hell, this is really proggy, right? But then as it progressed, right, I put here, I said it starts with Dear Prudence. I mean, what's it called?
yeah.
I can't even
10538.
Yeah. It starts with Dear Prudence. I said, bloody hell, they know how to start, don't they, right? And that track is actually, you go, oh my God, they've got their sound straight off.
It's not the only album that's got Dear Prudence on it as well. Yeah, we'll come back.
Yeah, I don't know if I made a note of every time I saw them copy some sort of... Yeah, but they all copy other people as well. Everly Brothers, they copy, little bit of all sorts of early late 50s, 60s rock and roll. But the point is that overture thing at the start, can't remember the number, is amazing. Yeah. That's like, you go, oh my God, this is amazing.
Just
you go,
have a listen to this.
And it's like that, this is where they've got Roy Wood in the band, isn't it? So this is basically a band that's been formed with Jeff Lynne, Bev, and Roy Wood. The bass players aren't so much. No. It's those three. There's a lot of overdubbage going on, and Roy Wood seems to be able to play everything. So he's doing all the cellos himself. So it's Roy Wood's ideas to have this sort of post-Beatles rock band with the cellos going. They nail it on that, but then they go into they actually go into full-on prog, and it doesn't sound like ELO. It sounds like some weird medieval music.
It goes a little baroque.
It does. Yeah. And when it first happened, I thought, oh, this is amazing. I love this. I love medieval. But then it kept going and going and going. I mean, did this album sell? It's really out there in a really strange way.
Yeah. And I think it's again, you know, we've already said, and we don't need to keep saying it. It's not none of these albums are bad albums, but I see what you're saying, because it is like it's the idea isn't really fully formed yet, so it's like just throwing all of this stuff out.
But the idea that they have
classical instruments. Look at this.
The idea they have got is just so strange. I mean, there's quite a few instrumentals on here, but they're not like proggy instrumentals. There's hardly any drumming on it. It's all just like tambourines and like, you know, they got some. What are they, dwarves and midgets?
Like,
what allowed you to
it is like folk. It is a sort of folky.
Yeah, it's all Stonehenge, you know. You know, so. But a good album, just really weird, and you have to trawl through it. And I did get a little bit bored with it, to be honest, because it was like the next one would come on, and it, away with the fairies, away with me go. I mean, it's not even that good. That was better, actually.
That was actually good.
I shouldn't have been around at that time.
You should have been.
Yeah, I got 2 pairs of glasses on. You know that?
I didn't realise. That's how you can still see.
I couldn't see anything without that. So it's a good.
Got my number 11.
Your number 11.
Completely different then. Mine is Secret Messages. I'm counting backwards.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Secret Messages is the next one.
Yeah, because so there's a couple on there that I do really like. The Secret Message is the actual song. Is one of the it's like a soundtrack of my it's one of the first ones I remember, and there's a track called 4 Little Diamonds, which I quite liked, but mostly for me actually only because it was in the soundtrack to Grand Theft Auto game, where if you went to a particular station, because Grand Theft Auto, this game, it's called Vice City, and it was set in, this is showing my geekness now, it was set in it's set in the 80s.
You don't have to go to detail.
In like a Las Vegas type thing. And you could switch the radio over, and you could switch the radio and 4 Little Diamonds.
I've got to steer him back on track.
Yeah. Because
if he gets
I'll just start talking about
this nerdy stuff, I tell you, he's off.
But What else? Yeah, so I put there's a track called No Way Out, which is actually quite cool. It's like a bluesy kind of one, which sort of sticks out.
Yeah, I
And
would
it's got
like that. Was a great.
It's
That's
got
great.
that
Yeah.
7/4 bit in it. But I've literally written there's two that just for me are just like there's Buildings Have Eyes, which has got really the horrible fake strings that I don't like. Even though as a keyboard player who plays fake strings, but like it's just
You just do
I
it.
didn't
You
like,
do. You just do it now, just as a
just
as a protest
for-
against.
yeah. No, he's a nice one.
See.
And Time After Time, which I just wrote one word and I just said silly. It just doesn't. Yeah. So and
You're going to write silly after their tracks. You're going to be there for a long time.
I mean, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of silly tracks, which
But
I enjoy.
exactly. So it's saying something. But no, and again, it's almost like the same as what you said about the first one, Electro, but the debut album, is that there's a few little just sort of like, oh, that's different, that's doing something. It doesn't feel so much like an album. There is also another reason, which is maybe a bit of a sneaky reason to put it in there, is that there is a track that was never included on the album, but it has come to light since, and it's a track called Beatles Forever. Have I ever played you this? Where it's
No,
like
but I've heard it. I
it's
remember
a
it.
massive homage to the Beatles, and I just have to say, and I think a lot of people agree that it's not very good at all. It's like it's like it's done seriously, but it's not very good because it's just naming loads of Beatles songs, just talking about how amazing the Beatles are, and it's like, and I associate that with this album now, so that's why.
The thing with ELO, they share something that Black Sabbath have, is they have a very enjoyable naivety that's like the sort of Birmingham naivety. So they're not sophisticated like a lot of the progressive rock bands.
Yeah.
They're straight down the line and they wear their hearts on their sleeves. And if they like the Beatles, they'll do that. They'll do all these rock and roll pastiches. Now, I'm not a fan of rock and roll pastiches, but on the whole, is there one on this album? Wasn't that the single?
Which on
Secret Messages?
Rock and Roll is King.
Yeah.
Is it Rock and Roll is King?
And so I thought, oh my god, and I think they did a video for that. It's something like that. And when I watched it, I thought, but it's actually okay, because the thing with the rock and roll pastiche is you have to do something with it, like Queen do with Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That is your, you know.
Rock and Roll is King.
And so, the thing is, I'm like 10 albums in all at the point when I'm going through them, and I've gone from going, I'm indifferent to, I actually really like the band now.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I got to the 80s albums, they're going to be bloody terrible. They're going to let me down. And then I put it on, and this big sound comes out, and I thought, my God, it doesn't sound like some sort of horrible 80s thing. They've actually nailed it. They've done it.
There are, and I'll give you, there's some nice, like there's quite long intros on a lot of them, and it's like it moves from like, you know, like what I really like is Secret Messages, that where it's like it starts and then you've got, then suddenly you think the vocals are coming in, then there's a guitar that's doing, and it's like it just keeps going, and
that's the great thing about ELO.
That is opening tracks.
Yeah, that's the other thing I love about them is that it's really poppy, it's really hooky, but it's also really musical, and they have no fear. It's like they'll write big hit singles, but it just shows you can do whatever you want to do, because they'll take such ridiculous risks. I mean, when we get to Mr. Blue Sky, which is possibly in the top 5 greatest songs ever written, and it's, even though it's that popular, the stuff it's doing goes tempo shifts, style shifts, you know, or things dropping out, things coming in. So, and I think they're still doing that on Secret Messages. So, shall we go to
number 10?
Number 10 for me is Xanadu from 1980, the soundtrack they did with Olivia Newton-John. This is really troublesome for me where I fit this one in, because the only reason it's so low down is if I put it high up and people went, oh, I'm going to buy that then if it's that good, you only get half an album, because the other side one is Olivia Newton-John. Now the critics go, the Olivia Newton-John side isn't too good, but it's actually really good as well. So it's an enjoyable album. You've got Olivia Newton-John on side one. I think the tubes crop up at one point. And then you've got ELO on side 2. And then they all come together on the track Xanadu, which is a brilliant ELO song and was their only number 1 in the UK.
Yeah.
But so this is only down. I really think they're at their peak, late 70s, early 80s. Unlike this is going to be my contentious thesis. And the Xanadu is almost like, the Xanadu side is almost like perfect ELO. All the things are there. The production's brilliant. It's all clean and it's just great. And
it's right at the same era of the Discovery albums.
Yeah.
So all of that I mean, I'm assuming. Well, I don't know this for certain, but I'm assuming that is probably the reason they got that soundtrack was because Discovery was heard, and it was just like that's the sound we want for this album. And it is, and it's like there's a couple of favourites on there, like I mean, Don't Walk Away is a really nice ballad on there. I'm Alive. The Xanadu theme, but actually All Over the World is also just one of my favourites.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant. So this is only scored low for me because it's half an ELO album, and if you go and buy it, however, you get you get Bev on side 2 playing drums. On side 1, for you jazz fusion fans, because I know you lose interest, Olivia Newton-John's got the great Carlos Vega, the late great Carlos Vega on drums, who was one of the greatest drummers of the 1980s. Sadly committed suicide at, I think, in the early 90s, but one of the great drummers and an unsung hero. So it's a great album. I like Olivia Newton-John.
I do.
I really do. I think she's got a lovely voice.
Most men our age do.
Yeah, poor old Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
So what have you got?
So for number 10, this could be condensed. I've got ELO 2. I've got the second album at number 10.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I told you I was.
So what's wrong with that one?
So, well, do you know what? I had got it earlier. Earlier, like higher. But then it was a couple. I was listening to them again, and I did say I'd said this to you this morning. It was actually more difficult than I thought it would be to do this, and I had got it higher. And then there were certain others that were just sort of. I was listening to going, oh, actually, I maybe prefer. And so there's a big bunch of these which are pretty much around the same point. You know, if I could say, joint fifth, I'd have about 5 albums. So it really is only just swimming there. And even now, when we've discussed things, I'm like, oh, have I got the right idea now? It's like, you know, but I don't know. I think it's. The Roll Over Beethoven thing, I'm hot and cold on. I always, when I was younger, thought it was a really cool take on.
But don't you think there's certain elements coming together on that track, which are like the formative elements that you're going to have for the ELO sound?
There are, but I don't think they're still quite fully formed yet. But there are, and I'm going to go through. There's like, really, you've got the whole Kuyama. Big prog kind of epic.
Big prog epic.
And then that's about it for me. Really, it's one of those I don't really even sort of think of most of the other tracks on this album. Even though I'll listen to them, and I'll be like, you know what, that's really cool. And there's some really this really good blending of there's still some cool synth sounds are already creeping in and stuff. But it doesn't. It just doesn't.
It's lacking the Dear Prudence track. The
I think,
first
that's probably why
you haven't got that big track. For me, it has, but we'll get to that point.
And so it isn't. Again, it's like what we've said is there's no bad albums, but there's no standout for me on this album. I don't think that's why it's lower like that. That's about it, really. I think.
So what's the next one on that we've got, which is number 9, isn't it?
Yeah.
So at number 9, I've actually got Secret Messages.
Right. Okay.
And I think I've said my bit there. I think it's a strong album. What I have to ask myself, is it better than Balance of Power and Electric Light Orchestra? I would rather listen to Secret Messages than those two because it's got the full-on ELO sound, and I do like that sound. Okay. It's not better than Xanadu in terms of the quality of the music on it, but there's more of it. You know, so that's what I've got. So we'll move on quick because we're at the half hour point.
Well, I think when we get about halfway through, we'll have talked about the album.
This will speed up everybody.
So I put the first album. I put the debut album there. So and again, just pipping it really above the second album, and mainly only because there's a couple of, like we've said, there's a couple of really stand out, and 105 Overture is just such a killer. It is. Not just that it's an opening track, but it's an opening for this band has moved out of the Move, and it's like, just have a listen to this. This is something that's different, and it just, that for me is what's powerful in this.
I think you got a point there. As we go through this, there's a certain point I think where you're moving from good albums to sort of masterpiece albums.
Yeah.
And we haven't got there yet. I don't think any of these are masterpieces. They've all got their little faults, haven't they?
Yeah.
So what's the next one on? Number 8, isn't it?
Yeah.
So at number 8, I have On the Third Day.
So do I.
Oh, we've actually got it
We've
right.
agreed
So
on-
we can just
we've
have one
agreed on-
chat. So we
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
chatted about this because this is a bit of a strange. You know, when you look at the whole discography, this one just sits there, not really. It's like the one at the back that's not coming forward,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like, what's this one about? I mean, who's on the cover of it?
But there's a few different ones, and there's one with like Jeff in like above the.
Is
world
that
or
Jeff
something.
Lynne? Is it?
But there is also, I think so.
There's the American one where they're showing their navel.
where they're all showing their belly buttons. Yeah.
And the belly button thing, or navel as they say in America, that is probably the most famous thing about this album. Now, I've put about this one On the Third Day that this is a little bit more songy and a little bit less proggy.
Yeah.
I think that's right, because I think Jeff Lynne at some point is trying to do like his version of progressive rock, and reading what I have done on my research, his dad, who was a big classical fan, was knocking him for not coming up with some decent tunes. He's going, where's all the bloody decent tunes?
Where's the songs?
And it's not quite there yet, but this is more songy,
Yeah.
but still proggy, but also I think the classic string sound that we associate with ELO, the chuggy string sound, which is actually on the first album, but just in bits. But here,
But there's
it
also
lands.
more of the sort of flowy stuff, sort
Yeah.
of ones as well, the legato strings. and stuff,
That's it.
That juxtaposition. I put down that there's Oh No Not Susan is what we were talking about before, like a prelude to like later classical ones. Like there's elements of Midnight Blue which comes later, and Telephone Line. It's like you can hear. Hang on, I'm onto something
This is
here.
this is what's so interesting, because
Yeah.
all these albums are great, but it's like the Magnificent Seven when they're going out and grabbing the seven. Is that you can
Yeah.
see it at ELO because they are moving towards something absolutely incredible. What have we got? Is we at number 8 then? Are we?
So we're at. Oh, also the other thing with that as well is that it might have been higher, but the opening just reminds me of Phantom of the Opera, which actually does come back to, like that thing of like starting to put this prog stuff. Like the prog thing is starting to become a bigger thing, but it's just a little bit musical theatre at the moment.
They've got all those things, but like I say, it's they wear their hearts on their sleeves.
Yeah.
They're not an ironic band. They're not Velvet Underground. It's like they like this, they like that, and if they like something, they stick it in.
I mean, and they were never. This is the thing that people say now is like they were never really cool back in the day. They were never. It's like now people are like, it is a really cool band. We can look at it and retro and go, yeah. But back at the time, they weren't cool. And I think
they're sort of they're like the progressive rock version of ABBA.
Yeah.
You know, like ABBA. You know, everyone thinks ABBA's great, and they are great, and they're very similar to ABBA. But I think there's elements with ELO that never get mentioned, and one of them is the funk groove disco.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key thing. We're waiting for disco to come in. All these things are coming together.
Yeah.
But the magical thing is actually disco. And we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. No.
So
where are we? Number 7.
Number 7. Now I have got at number 7 ELO 2.
Right.
Now, if I go back to my notes, the reason why this is up so high is because obviously Kiama, that 10-minute epic is absolutely amazing. If you were putting great progressive rock tracks of the 1970s, this is full-on progressive rock, without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's which one are we on? ELO 2, yeah. Well, the opening is actually in 9/4.
Yeah.
They are full-on prog at this moment. Now, but there's a track called Mama.
Yes.
Might be my favourite ELO track.
That's a long one again, isn't it?
Yeah,
it ends. The ending goes really mad, doesn't it?
It's just.
Am I right?
Absolutely. It's not like a standard ELO track. But when I had the headphones on, I realised that rather than being analytical, this is where I got lost in the music.
It's a 7-minute. Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's actually a rip-off of the theme to Midnight Cowboy by John Barry. And there's another point where they rip off ELO rip-off. That sort of falling line
yes,
is in Bomber, but it's so beautifully done.
We'll come back to that later.
Yeah, and it's so beautifully done. So the fact that side 2 is really, really good. And I think of these early, let us call them pre-Kelly GROUCUTT albums, I think this is my favourite one.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
What have you got at that point?
I have got, which are we, number 7?
I think so.
I have got Eldorado there.
So
we're almost in that era.
There's going to be people here, ELO fans, that are going to rate Eldorado as their favourite album.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said this. Now, I think if you take this sort of proggy thing they're up to, but you then start to see this ELO sound developing, Eldorado is that point where I think the ELO sound comes together, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think he's assembled pretty much the band by this point. Because this is the thing, I'm going to say things where I think are facts and they're not. But I think Mick Kaminsky's in by this point.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if Melvin Gale might have been in by this point as well, and maybe Hugh McDowell, the cellist, and it's like, and so it's all.
Your dad's not in there at this point.
He's not in at this point.
But he joins on this tour, doesn't he?
It was yes. So he's in the video for "Can't Get Out of My Head," which is again one of the best ELO ballads, I think.
So, see, the thing is that let's spend some time with Eldorado, because I've actually got it at number 6, so it's my number 6. So we're very close here.
Yeah.
What I've put is there's a full orchestra on this.
Yeah.
They've actually gone and done it. Now, so many bands at this time are trying to integrate full orchestras. Nowadays, with digital technology, it's much easier to do, but back then it was difficult. You can't have a band playing at the same time as it, so you have to get the big recording studios, and they have to overdub, and they've got to put all the headphones on, all that sort of stuff. And, Deep Purple famously did this in 1970, and a lot of bands are utilising orchestras at this point. This is really brilliantly done, and it's seamless. Also, this is their first full-on concept album, although it's what I call a cheap concept album, because it basically sets up this sort of Walter Mitty type dream.
Yeah.
He has this imagination, and in that it means you can then have songs about whatever you want.
Yeah, but he overtures it as well, which is, I think, which is the first album, and I think it's the first album that really that has an overture to the actual album itself. So it is just sets it up, and it is that the overture in this is absolutely just incredible as well. Really,
I feel that this is the first proper ELO album. So I'm going through all these early albums. I'm doing it chronologically. I go, this is quite good. That's quite, I really like that. But none of it's ELO. I'm going, well, I want some ELO. I want all those big vocals in the background, answering, I've been searching, and I want all that, and the big fat bev and drums going on, and I want all that in, and now it's still not quite there here, but I feel that this is the first proper ELO album. And it's possibly, if you take the sort of classic ELO sound, it's probably the most proggy of the ELO sounding albums. This is where they become ELO. Now, the bass player they had before your dad, can you remember his name?
That's my daughter's trying to call me. Stop. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, well, you should have answered it.
Yeah.
Rob's daughter's calling up. You better answer in case it's an emergency. I'm going to be editing this because I'll be editing this.
Sorry to interrupt this show in this rude and annoying way, but I just wanted to tell you about a few ways that you can support me here on YouTube and get access to even more weirder and wackier content. First of all, you could become a patron. You could become a free member or a paid up member. I have over 300 extra videos on there, and if you don't even want to become a member, please pop over, because you can access my collections where you can purchase even more weirder and wackier video content. If you want to support me financially with a little tip, buy me some biscuits or maybe some crisps, you could pop over to my PayPal tip jar. I also have a Substack where I have lots of clever, academic and thought out articles where I explain my ideas on art, culture and creativity in a more intelligent way than I do here, plus a whole ton of podcasts. If you want to know what my music sounds like, you can pop over to my Bandcamp. Over there, you'll be able to listen to over 50 albums, and if you want to access them all, you could become a subscriber. And last but not least, if you want to support the wonderful studio where I film these lovely videos, which is actually a charity trying to help people out in the community become more creative, here is the website where you could drop a few pounds or dollars or whatever the currency is in your country in there. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
We're back. So we're at number 6, weren't we? Before we were rudely interrupted by your daughter.
Oh, sorry. So we talked. We'd finished talking about Eldorado.
Yeah, we've done Eldorado now.
Yeah. All right. So my number 6 is Xanadu.
You love it then, don't you?
I do. Really, yeah. It's those few standout tracks in there that are just
It is really good. And I think if you want to learn something from this, if you put our two scores together, if the whole album if it was a full album, it would be around about here.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. Sort of going into the classic period, because I think for me from now on we're into classic albums. I think
I think we've got the same lot at the end here. I think what we say.
Right.
Yeah.
So
number 5.
What have you got at number 5?
I've got Time.
I've got Discovery.
5. Okay.
Now, when I was listening to Discovery, I'd actually put the album before it and the album before it. I go, well, that's number 1. This is what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
From Face the Music, Out of the Blue. When Face the Music, this is going to be the number 1. It's amazing. And then, this is number 1. And then Discovery came on, and I went, oh, this is number 1. And I feel that the key of all these things that are slowly coming into the ELO sound, as I said before, the key thing is disco. They needed disco.
Yeah.
And the fact is that in the 70s, you had all these progressive rock bands, and they weren't undone by punk, they were undone by disco. And ELO were one of the few bands that had started up in the early 70s out of that sort of post-Beatles, proggy world that actually managed to move towards disco.
And do it well.
Do it well. Queen did as well with Another One Bites the Dust.
Yeah.
And I think there's a parallel also between Queen and ELO in terms of what they are doing and how they were able to move.
And the Queen managed to keep that rock identity in that though, that didn't they? It still had that much more rock kind of group, whereas.
But ELO were never like a heavy rock band.
No.
There's a
bluesy element to them, but not. Yeah.
And there's a riff in one of the tracks. I can't remember which one it was. It starts off with quite a heavy guitar riff. This is quite heavy for ELO.
On this album?
No, not on Discovery.
Do you?
And the other thing with Discovery is that when I listen to it, although you've got like Don't Bring Me Down and all these big disco tracks, the real pumpy stuff, it doesn't just do that. It also does all the balance is absolutely right. Yeah. I would say that I would put Eldorado in the masterpiece category, and this is in the masterpiece category. It's an essential album if you're into ELO, isn't it? It's like it sort of defines it.
Yeah. I put Time there.
You've got Time, yes.
Yeah. And again, it's this thing you feel like you're having to justify why an album like this is number 5, and it's just now starting to come down to how many more songs do I like on an album. That's really
Time's interesting because they go into the 80s and they change their sound and they swap the strings and all that stuff to this sort of, I saw it described as retro futurism, is that they invent this sort of idea of the future in it, embracing all the sort of synthesizers and keyboards and that actually replaces the sound, but I think it's done absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah.
And for me, Time stands alone actually, which is when I get to where I put it, because I put it up very high, because that was the one that I went, oh my God, this is like incredible. Yeah. Time's incredible.
And it's another concept album, and I think I think the idea and the story in the concept album, I think, is the best one of them all.
I do as well. And a concept album in 1981 when, you know, the rest of the world is being like new romantic or, indie. And how was this received at the time? Was it a success or not?
Because it came after such a massive era for them. I don't know. I mean,
I think this is the big problem with Time is that they did everything right. It's all futuristic. It's all 1980s. But I think you just cannot surpass the two albums that have gone before, which have sort of taken over the world, because it's really difficult to understand by this point how big ELO were and the sort of gigs they were doing, you know, where they had like Tony Curtis coming up and opening up. One of the greatest film stars in the history of cinema comes up and opens it up. And
it was the start from coming out of, so it peaked in the, what am I looking at here? So the US... It peaked at number 16. UK was number 1, which was probably...
So it was a big success.
So it was a big success, but it didn't quite get as many, you know, the gold, platinum and stuff as, like, Out of the Blue and Discovery. I mean, Discovery got more, actually.
The thing is, there's a difference between being brilliant and then being culturally significant.
Yeah.
To be culturally significant, you have to have a song that is like Mr. Blue Sky is... Like, that fits today. It's a nice blues, you know, we could now walk out here and play Mr. Blue Skies, it would work, and Don't Bring Me Down. Whereas Time, they don't have those sort of tracks that can be put on adverts, that can be, there's not that utility to the songwriting, because they're trying to fulfill this weird, you know, conceptual story. The single was Here Is the News, isn't it?
Here Is the News, and I thought it was Hold On Tight. Hold On Tight was a single as well. But the thing is, it's also like Hold On Tight is just back to this rock and roll thing as well.
Yeah.
To finish off the and that was a massive favourite. It was one of the sort of favourites. And I think when I was younger, I always assumed that was one of the earlier ones, just because it's so out of context of the sort of the synth sound and stuff like that. But so Here Is the News is just good. You did a cover of that as well.
I did when I was in Frost. We did it, and it's a great tune. Now I have to admit that when I came to sort of becoming a music fan in 1980. And I started checking out all the bands. So I bought Queen albums, and I bought Black Sabbath albums and Led Zeppelin. And somebody said, "Oh, well, you'll like this," and they gave me 2 albums. One was the Yes Shows, the live album, which I loved, and the other was Time. And I put it on and listened to it over and over again, and I hated it at the time. And so now I'm doing this ranking video, and I get to Time and I put it on, and I go, "This is unbelievable." Well, one of the things I think with Time is there is, amongst the sort of trendy types out there in the world, if you actually start to see all these trendy musicians that are doing this sort of retro futurist thing, it's this sort of postmodern, it's in the future, but it's like a sort of 1970s idea of the future. This album occupies its own space. It could well be, as time goes on, that this album actually grows and grows, because I think, interestingly, Time has been favourable to Time. It's like, if you put it on now, the production, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Like a meta of And I think, I mean, you know what? I mean, thinking about what Jem did in the production of that version of Here Is the News, it's like, he's not really done anything.
He's just played it straight,
it works. You kind of go, what is this? Just a really straight cover, because it just
for me, Time is the big underrated classic. So what we on now? Then I've lost track.
We're on number 4 now.
So at number 4, I have Face the Music, which came out in 1975. Absolutely incredible album. The opener, Fire on High, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Another full-on progressive rock moment. Absolutely brilliant. This is where Bev's drum sound kicks in. Yeah. Up until now, I've been wondering what's happened to Bev in the background on some of these albums. And then suddenly, Bev kicks in. His playing's incredible. The sound of the drums is magnificent.
It's like
absolutely incredible.
5 times.
As you know, we know Bev, and I've actually sent him a message saying I've actually bothered to listen to your albums, Bev, and I've got to say you're drumming on Face the Music is absolutely incredible, and he has promised me a proper full-on interview in probably April, because they're doing a lot at the moment. So we'll be going up to film that, and that will be sort of part 2, where that'll be where we nail the history of
Part
ELO.
2. Like
ELO part 2, yeah, the rubbish one in your mind.
Yeah.
What else have I got? I've written a lot for this one.
I wasn't about the band.
I put the songwriting is absolutely, the songwriting's getting better and better.
Yeah.
And with Evil Woman, we have the first real, for me, full on ELO track.
Yeah.
And it's like absolutely incredible. Now, Evil Woman, I have a story, because there's another band that did. Kev's going to come in now. We're in the middle of a video. Come and see in a bit, Kev. At this point in the video, my friend Kevin Gammond came in. He's doing this quite a lot at the moment. He's really replaced my mom on my videos for interrupting filming. Kevin is a very good friend of mine, and he is like a mentor for me. He, in the early 1960s, joined Jimmy Cliff's band, went down to London with him. He played alongside The Who, he played alongside the Rolling Stones, he went out and jammed with Jimi Hendrix, and he was part of that whole London scene that was emerging in the 1960s. He then went on to form the Band of Joy with Robert Plant and John Bonham, which obviously then became Led Zeppelin later on. He then, with Robbie Blunt and Jess Roden, formed a band called Bronco that released, I think, 3 albums on Island Records before then going off and working in Italy with Jimmy Witherspoon. And so he's has a wealth of knowledge, Kev does, and some incredible stories. But he will not come on the channel. But here, this is about the closest we're going to get. And of course, although he was completely unprepared, I knew that Kevin would be around the sort of ELO guys in the early days. And so here is Kev talking about that time now. Yeah, really busy. I'm doing a real serious video here with Rob.
Proper, really serious, look.
Yeah.
Did you like the picture I sent you?
I did, Kev. My friend Kevin Gammond's coming. We're ranking the ELO albums.
Who are they?
Couldn't have said anything more perfect.
Are they one of those mutant offsprings of vile old rock?
Now, my friend Kevin Gammond, that will not come on camera, was part of the Birmingham scene.
Well, I went to Doobie Checkers, get something to eat. But he said, you just look beat because it's early in the day to talk about all this kind of sort of...
But my friend Kevin, he does not like going back. He doesn't like thinking back to the past.
No, it's a moment. It's today.
But you must have been a contemporary of all the Jeff Lynnes and Bev Bevans and all that
They
in
were
Birmingham.
in the Idle Race.
The Idle Race. Well, I'm glad you've mentioned the Idle Race, because I think that was...
They were all playing like the Macadam at Kipps Green, all the kind of pub gigs. Steve Gibbons and the Uglies were on it. But the best band came from this little kind of sort of backwater town of Kidderminster. And they were called the Shakedown Sound.
That's your band, you little...
Everybody was afraid to actually play with them. Even the Kinks, who came on in their riding outfits in those days, doing from ba-da-da-dam, doing all those great songs who really got me.
Kev, I have to say, right...
Now you see me, now you don't.
I was in a pub 30 years ago, and I was chatting to these old guys, and I mentioned you to them, and they said exactly that. Everyone was scared of the Shakedown Sound.
Yeah, they were, yeah. Rob Plant used to say, Kev, that band. And Stevie Marriott, when we used to play with the Small Faces, and they go, what do you want to do about it? Gave me his Guild guitar. And when I put it up, he said, you're one of those, aren't you? You play those fancy guitar solos. I don't. But he was a great singer, Stevie, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah. Right, Robert, could I borrow you for a second?
We're in the middle of a video. We've got to get this done.
No, we get this.
This is...
Yeah. Jeff and Roy Wood, did they get on okay? Because they were...
They did in the early days.
Yeah, they're still mates, I think.
Yeah. Are they,
Yeah.
Yeah, your dad was the one who held that band together.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Gammond. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Now you see me later.
For those of you who around the world ELO fans, you have to understand that me and Rob grew up in the West Midlands in Birmingham, and these people are all around. Kevin Gammon is like our mentor, isn't he? And we've known him for a long time, and it's such a shame he won't come on and tell his story, because he was a part of all this, wasn't he?
He's still working on him. Just
I got him. He actually appeared in one of the videos. I just grabbed him and put the camera in his face.
Did you?
Yeah, gave me a kiss. So anyway, what number are we on now?
We were at number 4. What did you say? Did you say your number 4?
I think my number...
Face of Music. We're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about Face of Music. Should I just read out what I've got to get us back on track? So I've got some good notes here.
Yeah.
I put the songwriting is really strong here.
Yeah.
Evil Woman is the first proper ELO song for me. And the magical element here is the backing vocals. Suddenly these backing vocals appear on this, and this is one of the key elements that we didn't have before, which I'm assuming is your dad, isn't it?
They're there. They are there all the way through, because, you know, Roy had set that up and everything. It's the multi harmonies, like this massive sort of harmonic chordal voicings and stuff. It's like,
there's a certain aspect to them.
Yeah.
And I've put Evil Woman is obviously their first hit. This is the point when they go from being a sort of known 70s band to being a big band that's having hit records. The track Poker is amazing.
Poker is
that's the one when I said it was a bit going. It's a bit heavy at the start, and it's like got this whole bam, but it's got that double time, which of course is your dad singing that, not Jeff. But I have to be honest, I didn't notice when I was going through.
It's sort of like it all blends. They're both in there, but there's like, it's like the 2 or 3 top voices. And we actually worked that out. My brothers and I, my brothers and cousins and I, for the sort of memorial concert thing we did for my dad after he passed. I think it was my cousin's idea to do that, because he's a drummer, and he was like, really want to do it because he wanted to do that because he's like, get it. And we're working it out, just going, this is just incredible. So much fun to play.
I was going to say to you, wouldn't it be funny if we could recreate that song here with me as Jeff and then you as your dad, but then also you could play keyboards and do Richard Tandy.
Yeah, but have you heard those?
Yeah, I know. We'll just program those. And then I would do the Bev thing with a similar wig on the drums. I thought it'd be quite a cool thing to do, the whole split screen, but we haven't done that, so that would be proper. But anyway,
one day
there's a couple of songs I love on there. This is a really brilliant album. One Summer Dream is a beautiful tune, and that's got the Midnight Cowboy in as well.
Thing in it,
and that's it.
That would be one of the things I just said. One Summer Dream is just it's just sublime.
Yeah,
it's so
these I can't believe that they have such a
run. And it keeps going and going and going. Not the only thing I would say isn't my favourite on there is the sort of the country kind of, what's it called, down home town, goes a bit country. But other than that, it's like that. Yeah, the whole album is mine comes later. So you'll.
So that was number 4, was it?
That was your number 4.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a New World Record.
Yes.
I mean, we're like literally just having to.
We're just mixing them up.
We're just having to name. Pick an album.
A New World Record is unbelievably brilliant, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And it is, this is so bad. I have a bad son because I have to get these up to get my track lists. Telephone Line,
brilliant,
A Living Thing,
brilliant.
Do Ya, which in fact, was it Do Ya? I've got to double check this.
It is Do Ya, Rob. I've done my research.
Is the old Move track that.
So Do Ya was an old Move track that was then, I don't know if Rob knows this, in the United States, Todd Rundgren in Utopia on the live album did a version of it. So this appeared by Todd Rundgren first the year before, and then they decided to do it on this album. It's a great track. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
And it's a testament to sort of how long after the Move are we talking now? We are. Where's this New World Record?
76.
So
5 or 6 years later, their songs are still able to.
And it's still just. I'll just stick this on this album. There's the whole rock aria, which some people kind of think is a bit silly. I mean, we talked about this, but But again, it's like it's bringing this rock and roll element into the classical thing, and I think for me, it works. And I have a soft spot for Above the Clouds because there's lots of my dad's vocals on that one as well. So,
But brilliant.
yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. Number 3. What? I'd say this might be contentious then. My number 3 is Out of the Blue.
Mine.
Oh, is it? Ooh, okay. It is. I mean, it is so incredible.
I've got Discovery on vinyl. I did have Time on vinyl. Like I said, I got rid of it when I was a kid. I've got Out of the Blue on CD. It's the only one I've ever listened to. It's amazing. It's got Mr. Blue Sky on it, right?
Yeah.
It's so good that I did a pastiche with Rob where I said it was terrible, and that wouldn't be funny if the album wasn't like an absolute masterpiece. The patrons have come up saying that Out of the Blue by ELO. You know that album that your dad's on that one. Yeah, your dad is on that one, isn't it?
Yes,
you know that one, yeah. Well, they've said it's overrated, and I've agreed with that. And I just thought, as your dad was in there, it'd be nice to see what you think about that. I mean, because really, it is. I mean, there's not that many good songs on there for a start, and I mean, they got Sweet Talking Woman. That's a good one, but there's no other good ones on there, is there really?
I mean, there's Mr. Blue Sky, which is maybe arguably ELO's most popular record.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. It's subjective, isn't it? But is it on that album then?
It is, yeah.
I've only ever listened to it once,
And it's it's like there's 4 sides, and there's like.
Was it a double album? Is it?
Yeah.
Ah.
And it's got there's a section called Concerto for a Rainy Day, which is like this sort of big sort of masterpiece of songs that are sort of moulded together.
I know, but I can remember when I listened to it, it seemed to have a lot of filler on there, and it was like there's quite a bit of like just these sort of rock and roll pastiches and like Chaz and Dave bits.
Well, I mean, we're talking about you're saying overrated, they're not saying underrated.
They're not saying underrated. It's not just me. All the patrons have done it. They've all said it. I mean, because we're mates, I thought you would have some sort of perspective on what why you think it is perceived as being overrated.
I mean, I'm a bit caught off guard, to be honest. I mean, because we're talking about maybe sort of my father's sort of potentially finest work, my late father's finest work. The person that's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, inspiration to me, and probably the reason I do what I do, to be honest. So it's a bit of a shock, to be honest. But it's interesting that we have put it. This is the one that is like, it is like the one that everybody goes, oh, that's the album.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
unique.
We both put it at number 3, and from that video that says it's the most overrated.
Well,
it's like, well, actually, but yeah, I mean, it's double album. That whole Concerto for a Rainy Day, that one side is just is brilliant. All I think it is one of the ones that really all links together as one massive,
I'll tell you,
album that everything does just work, doesn't it?
I put it at number 3, right? Now, on the list of albums this good, it's an amazing album. The reason why it's not there at number 1 for me is I love the disco-ness of them, and I love the progginess of them. This is the album where the prog disappears. Face of Music is very proggy, isn't it? This one's not, but it's a double album. And although it's a very strong double album and there's no bad tracks on it, it's still a slog, because all double albums are a slog. So when I was going through it, I must admit, I got to the point of going, oh God, I've got to get through this one, and I've got to rate it and all that type of stuff. So, absolutely brilliant. So, we're now on number 2, aren't we?
We are on number 2. I have got Discovery.
Discovery at number 2. It's an incredible album, and
we've talked about it.
And I've got Time at number 2.
That was switched then, because I had Time. Where did you have Time at?
5, I think.
No, Discovery at number 5, yeah. So we've got those, and I think yeah, I mean that doesn't surprise me really, because I think it's the disco stuff really for me was that like. There's a couple of things which I thought I'll wait until me talking about it in number 2. Is what I really, really do like, and again, it's because I'm biased, but the bass lines, and and I defy anybody to try and play some of those bass lines and sing what my dad was singing on them, because I can't do them either.
Sting could do it.
Probably, yeah, I'd imagine, yeah. But
Phil Lynott, I reckon he could do it. Geddy Lee could do it.
Yeah, all right, okay, chill out, right. But Shine a Little Love, if you like that, it's like, I mean, the thing is that bass line is great. Anyway.
Like I say, when I got to Discovery, I thought this is going to be number 1, but then time shocked me so much, you know. So we're at our number 1s now.
Number 1s.
So this is the big moment, everybody.
Everybody presumably can now work out what our number 1s are from.
So let's do it. I'll do my little talk on the number 1. Why I've got number 1. So for me, the best ELO album, which I didn't expect to say, is A New World Record from 1976. And I think the songwriting is brilliant. Tightrope is a brilliant opener, absolutely fantastic. This album's funky. It's a funky album, and that just swung it for me. The funk always swings it. Mission is very funky, or you know, sort of funky guitar parts, funky stuff going on. This album is more upbeat because I'm not a sort of ballady type one, and even the great albums, they're great ballads, but I'm not so much of a ballady type one. But the thing that swung it is there is a track called So Fine, and in the middle of that there is an electronica breakdown that sounds like it was done now, and it's so in the future, it's so unbelievable. And it's like, when I heard that, I went, this is what ELO are doing. At one moment they write Mr. Blue Skies or Living Thing, they're doing that, but also they're pushing it, and every now and then this invents. It sounds so ahead. And when I heard that, I went, oh, this is going to be the best album. That one bit, also, of course, you know, as we said, it's got Do Ya on here, which is great. I've said all that bit. I was just about to read, but I've said it already. So, I think, all in all, if you take the sort of progginess, move it to the disco-iness, that arc, A New World Record is the peak for me, and it's got all the elements there, absolutely all the elements that you would want. Before they then just drop the prog. So for me, if I was just going to have one album, think about me who loves prog, but I also love disco and I love the ELO sound.
You've got all those little elements pointing into it.
I'm surprised that sort of Out of the Blue has become the sort of definitive album of this band, because for me is this one, and it's a single album and it's concise and it doesn't sag. There's no bad tracks on it at all. This is my favourite one. So what's yours?
Mine is probably going to be no surprise to people. It is the first one that my old man was on, which is Face of Music. And again, I mean, we said it before. It's like it's the songs. It's the real strong songs are in there, which has always been my my sort of go-to anyway. But it does have that sort of, you know, Fire and High is incredible. I used to listen to it over and over again, and it's that guitar, the acoustic guitar break in the middle is just it's so cool. And then you know, Evil Woman, One Summer Dream, they're just
brilliant.
Yeah,
I think we've actually saying the same thing, because basically what we've said, the apex is right in the middle.
Yeah,
and this is, you've actually gone to the even more sort of proggy end of it. But I think where did I have Face the Music? Because when I heard
4, did you? 4,
yeah, but see, what I've done is I've paid respect to Out of the Blue, because I thought I can't have that down at number 4, and then Time that's my sort of ace, you know, going, that should be listened to. So we're done. We are done.
I don't know how.
Bloody hell!
That looked painful.
It did. I think I've had my eye out. Bloody
this
Jeff
is karma,
Lynne.
because you didn't put Out of the Blue at number 1. Somebody's out there, some ELO.
See, I'm just not as good like that.
No, it's not as cool, is it?
No.
But now I look less grey against you now, so I don't mind that.
Right, so shall we finish by looking at your goodie? So, Rob, you have brought some goodies with you from your
I
loft.
brought some stuff from my. I mean, no, it's in my shrine.
The shrine.
It's been in the loft. Well, we did say we were going to bring this down here and just have this in the background because it's cool. This is, and you can put up a little.
I'll put the
you can
picture
put
up now, yeah. Do you want to sit in it?
Do you know?
Do you think it's going to take?
I don't know.
I think you should sit in it.
Should I?
Yeah,
sit?
go on. If
Hang
it
on, shall I do
if
the-
it breaks, it makes. I mean,
Oh God!
there we go. Look at this.
And I'll do the. Oh my
Well, it's
God.
creaking a little
Creaks.
bit.
And I'll do. It's like the look around that they do in the photo.
Oh,
There's a
is it?
photo online where they're like.
I'll try and do something clever with the editing
Well,
of this. What can you remember what
we do
angle
it-
he's at?
We do it. Oh, sorry, I can't remember now.
I'll do it.
We're doing some filming here. Now,
Is it-
I actually don't know.
Can you get out of it?
I could,
Do I want me to get a big shoehorn?
there we go. Wedge me out. So
That's incredible. So
I
this is-
don't know. I don't actually know.
I mean, why do you have this made?
What was it for? There's this
Was it
photo
Xanadu?
of them all. No,
Yeah.
I don't think it was. Because, little bit of a fact for you, is that the only person in the band that actually met Olivia Newton-John was Jeff. They all recorded their bits on separate days in the studio. So even though they all shared this number one together,
Yeah.
my dad and certainly most of them didn't actually meet.
Bev didn't say that.
I'm assuming he might have done. He might have met her then.
But he didn't met her. He ogled her from a distance.
Oh, maybe, yeah. So I don't know. I would have assumed it was for that, but it might have been for. It might have just been for one of the music video shoots. I don't know. There is probably.
But it's very
there
iconic
is
for ELO
probably
fans,
a
isn't it?
fan somewhere who would be able to tell us where. But you
And,
can put the photo up, and
You know, if there's any very rich ELO fans, you know, Rob's up for offers for this one.
Am I?
I mean, yeah, there'd have to be a lot of money. I think anything near £1 million would. What would you sell it
That'll
for?
do us.
A million.
there
It'd
you
go for $1 million.
You've named
Half a
You
million.
named a figure. I'll go with it.
I'm joking, everybody. He's not going to sell this. He would for $1 million. But
I mean, what?
I can't believe how well made it is. It's like it's so solid.
You know what? This is. It's just
70s bloody
70s
engineering.
craftsmanship, innit?
Do you want to stick that one on the floor? So what we've got here
This.
is proper history now.
This go this way.
So this is your dad's flight case, isn't it?
Yep.
For his ELO base, right?
It is.
So on the back we've got.
It says
This is proper.
"Handle with care,"
Yeah.
which is also a prelude to a Travelling Wilburys song, isn't it? I don't
Is
think
it?
that was there's a.
And then here we've got all this here. What's this logo? You think?
That was the original. That was the ELO logo. It was a take on the General Electric logo, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't
You
know.
know this.
And what's all this bit here?
I don't know. Oh, well, that's the freight company, I think.
Yeah, Frank. What's that say there?
There you go, Rainbow Freight. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know what 33 or
Look at that
31.
gaffer tape. I mean, if you rip that gaffer tape off, you can sell that on eBay.
The gaffer, yeah.
Now
yeah.
we've done this, it'll be worth a bit of money.
Here we go.
100 quid for a bit of ELO gaffer tape.
This is one of the bases. That
You've
we
got a couple
use.
of others, but we'll save. So what have we got here?
This is a 1963, I believe, Fender Precision.
So without the ELO connection, this is worth a bomb anyway.
I mean, this is, yeah.
But it's been modded a bit, hasn't it?
It has.
Is that right?
It has, because if you see in here, these are the original machine
Wow, you can
heads.
sell those.
You're obsessed with me selling them. Look, Rotor Sounds.
Oh, yes.
Sponsored by Rotor Sound. Yeah, so my dad decided he didn't like the silver hardware, and so he wanted the gold hardware on.
It does look lovely.
I mean, you can see he didn't even really do anything with that's the old. So he just, he took it. And I think these are off a Gibson, but I can't recall exactly. But and it's all action, but.
At least stand up and hold it, like it's your dad's space. We want a shot of you know, Kelly.
I used
Kelly's-
to play this.
I
in
know,
like
you've played it
little
with me.
pub. I need to sit.
Sit on the chair. Yeah.
And I'm just going to sit on this, but there you go. So
I'll get a bit back a bit. In fact, where should we go? There we go.
there you go.
Now you have a story about this bass, don't you? About when it was
Which
put
story?
away.
Oh yes, I did. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
story.
come
I
on.
forgot to.
And then we're done then. Once we've
Right.
done the story, we're
Here we
done.
go. So it's a bit dusty actually, but you can see on these pickups there, right? They're actually They should be like shiny metal, but they're not, because after one tour, the crew decided, which I think was quite a common thing, they would do like pranks, and at the end of the tour, whoops, I'm falling over. At the end of the tour, they basically came on and they would do like cream pie, custard pies in the band's faces when they're doing their last song.
Yeah.
So my dad's playing, and as he's playing at the end, he can just hear this. His bass is just going thump thump thump. He's like, what the? And there was a big glob of the cream had gone onto the thing, so he's just wiping it off to finish playing. Finishes playing. They walk out. They pass guitars to the roadies, who then go and put everything. They go and put everything away. They go off to their after show party, and then I don't know how long afterwards, weeks or months afterwards, my dad goes to get this out of the case. And the roadies had basically just put it away. They hadn't cleaned it. They just put it away in the case, left it, and then when we opened it, it was just this big congealed glob of horrible whatever it was. So we had to clear it all off. But I learnt to play on this bass, and I used it in my first like dodgy rock funk band when I was.
So can people see this bass if they go out and look at any of the videos? I've spotted it on a few photos.
Yes,
and stuff.
they can. He had this later, so I couldn't tell you exactly. So it would have been later live shows. There might be some videos in it with it. Yeah, there is actually. I do have a Gibson, which I think he used on more of the recordings. Yeah. But I actually just prefer this one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bass. What tracks did you think he played it on?
This probably would have been probably from Time onwards. I would have imagined that he probably played it on.
So this could well be the bass on Here Is the News.
So this could be the bass he was used on Here Is.
Wow, yeah. History.
Lovely bass.
Brilliant. Well, Rob,
thank you very much.
We are done.
We are.
Oh, God, I'm freezing now.
It is really cold.
Let's get a heater on.
Get a coffee on.
Yeah, we're going to get a coffee. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to get Rob back on to do more ELO stuff, I am now a big fan of ELO, I know about them, so we can do a lot on ELO. And I feel, oh yeah, you've got your glasses on.
And I have to finish with the aviators.
I can't get them on, and I'm shivering. I've had enough now, Rob.
You've got to put it. You're going to do it.
Put them on then. I'm not putting the wig back on.
No, you can put them
on over my.
Over your glasses. There you go. You've got to finish.
Look at that.
In an homage to Mr. Lee.
Yes. Jeff, if you're watching, here's your band.
Thank you.